Welcome to The Line. It is NFL Draft Week, and we are so glad you've selected us to be the future of your franchise, or at least help you make a little money from football's big first-round night. I am Ben Teitelbaum, joined as always by Nick Costos, that is The Costos, and today we have a very special guest, the one, the only, Albert Breer, senior NFL reporter at the MMQB, walking NFL Draft cheat sheet. So, Albert, betting on the NFL Draft can be a little bit tricky. There's a lot of intel out there, but what is true, what is not? I assume if you have the right information, you can get one over on the books, but how right is that information?
Well, I think the problem with any information when it comes to the NFL draft, and I think there is good information out there, is one thing goes the wrong way and everything kind of comes undone. And so what I try to do, and this is the main thing for me, is just looking at where players are going to go, trying to look at ranges, and, you start to kind of build an idea of how things are going to happen. And so there are three tackles that are sort of apart from the pack: Jonah Williams, Jawan Taylor, and Andre Dillard. Those three guys could wind up going in a run. You could have six interior offensive linemen go at the bottom of the first round. The receivers feel like they're falling off a little bit. You're going to have a run on them, but it might not happen until the top of the second round. And so I think what you're really trying to do this time of year more than anything else is try to get the range where the players are going to go so you can pass that information along. I think that can be very valuable. What's probably less valuable is actually pegging this player going to that team, this player going to that team, just because when one thing goes wrong and there's one surprise thing happening, and that inevitably is going to happen on the first night of the draft, everything else kind of comes undone. It's like a big Jenga tower.
Yeah, so that's fool's errand. And you can get those numbers out there. Is Josh Allen going to go to the Giants?
Right.
And you can get a decent number on that. I know Nick's had his mind on that. We'll save that till later.
Indeed.
Nick, talk to me about draft betting strategy, sort of big picture. Are you looking to go player over-unders? Are you looking at some of the props, like how many defensive tackles in the first round? Where do you look to make some money?
I think Albert absolutely nailed it there with what he said. You want to look at player range. I think that's the opportunity to really make some money here. And here's the deal with kind of betting the NFL draft. You're going to be able to get over on the books, and books kind of historically have taken a bath with the NFL draft, because you know how sports books work, right? Whether it's an online sports book, a physical sports book, they want to get you in the door, and they get you in the door betting props like this. And there is a major opportunity with all the information out there that you can get one over on the book. So they're kind of thinking, right, okay, we'll let X better here win some money on the NFL draft, because then they're going to turn around and lose it on the NBA playoffs or the NHL playoffs. So there is a major opportunity here, and I think books are actually, they're okay with kind of losing a little bit on the NFL draft to the casual better. So I think major money-making opportunities on the table Thursday night in Nashville.
There you go. They're playing the long game. Let's see if we can do something good in the short game here. And let's start at the very beginning. It's obviously a very good place to start. And here, that's with the number one overall pick. We've heard about it. Kyler Murray to Arizona. Heavy favorite. Nick Bosa, plus 280. Any other player at 15-2. Albert, is Murray enough of a lock here to be a smart bet there, or is there enough uncertainty where maybe you
I would say
that?
there's like a little more uncertainty than there was a week ago. Now we got to remember there are parties that are invested in this sort of thing, not the least of which is the actual NFL itself, which has told teams in the past, listen, we need to create some intrigue, we need to create some mystery. And look, we've seen this in the past. In 15, the Bucs made their decision on Jameis Winston about a month before the draft, yet they kept it under wraps until the very end. Rams GM Les Snead actually came out and said before they took Jared Goff that he had to be mindful of the television production. And so I think the idea that the Cardinals haven't made their decision is a little silly, right? Like the idea that
the hay's in the barn.
This massive decision, this franchise-shifting decision hasn't been made.
If they hadn't made it yet, that would be a problem organizationally.
It would be a problem organizationally, right. So I think there is an idea that you want to build some intrigue. I'm just telling you, the people I've talked to in the league, they still believe Kyler Murray is going number one overall. So that's my information right now. The caveat, of course, is until 2 days before the draft last year, we thought it was either going to be Josh Allen or Sam Darnold, and it wound up being Baker Mayfield.
You know, the Kyler stuff is very interesting. And Albert, you're as plugged in as it gets here, so your information second to none. I've heard some stuff about the Cardinals myself, and what I've heard is the organization's kind of split. The general manager, Steve Keim, maybe likes Nick Bosa or Quinnen Williams, but not to take the quarterback. The head coach, Cliff Kingsbury, wants the quarterback in Kyler Murray. And ownership may want to force the hand to take the quarterback, get the splashy player on the field, try and sell more tickets. So for me, just from the betting perspective, right, if you want to make the smartest bet possible, and I acknowledge what you're saying is right, that most people believe that Kyler Murray is going to be the pick. But I do think there's enough uncertainty out there that laying minus 350 on Kyler Murray, and I've seen prices, some shops where it's higher than minus 350. I don't know if I can advocate doing that. Now, I know in your mock draft that you had on the MMQB on SI.com, you actually said you wouldn't be surprised if Quinnen Williams were the pick, and that's something that could happen. So plus 750, if Quinnen Williams could maybe be the pick for me, it would be Nick Bosa, because I've heard that that's the guy that Steve Keim, the GM, really likes for the Cardinals.
And you also have to kind of, at this time of year, figure out what teams' motivations are, right? Like, why would the information be out there?
Yeah.
Well, I've just heard a little bit that maybe the Cardinals are trying to bait the Niners, who really like Nick Bosa, into panicking and dealing up a single spot. You may remember 2 years ago, the Niners were able to effectively do that to the Bears, who moved up one spot to go and get Mitch Trubisky. So if you're the Cardinals, I mean, here's the one logical thing, the one logical reason to create all this smoke and try to convince other teams that you like Nick Bosa would be because you figure the Niners really like Nick Bosa.
See if you can get something out of it.
They have a quarterback. They have
100%.
Jimmy Garoppolo on a $27.5 million a year deal. Why not see if the Niners will panic and come up and get Nick Bosa? So that could be one piece of motivation why the Cardinals, who I would borderline guarantee you know what they're doing now, would actually try to create that mystery around the first.
I will tell you, you mentioned last year in Baker Mayfield. I actually made a pretty penny. I bet Baker at 7-1 odds on Sunday. By Wednesday, he was minus 600 because everything had flipped on its head.
That's a hell of a bet, because I remember waking up that Thursday morning and being like, Baker's going number one. Wow. We thought it would be Darnold or Josh Allen.
And that's the trouble with betting this. Sometimes it's just a hunch. And if the Cardinals, if they do take Kyler, then there's a good chance they deal Josh Rosen. But how good a chance? Yes, minus 300. No, as even we're talking about dealing Josh Rosen on draft night, Nick. Do you think it happens?
I've actually heard some scenarios that I would consider just at face value to be asinine, right? Where the Cardinals take Kyler Murray but say, we've got Josh Rosen on an affordable deal, and they keep Josh Rosen as the backup quarterback. I don't see any chance that that's going to happen. If I'm Josh Rosen, I'm making a major stink and I'm getting the hell out of the desert, and I don't think there's any question about it. If what I'm saying is true, and the Cardinals, there's a good chance that they're going to take Bosa or Quinnen Williams or not take Kyler Murray, then I think that Josh Rosen obviously remains their starting quarterback. So for me, I think Josh Rosen stays a member of the Arizona Cardinals, so this would be a no bet for me here. Rosen stays with the Birds.
Yeah, I think there are some moving parts here. Okay, like the idea that you could maybe try and get the most for it now. Well, when we get to Friday morning, now Dwayne Haskins is on a team, now Drew Lock's on a team, now Daniel Jones is on a team. So that's three potential suitors for your backup quarterback at that point coming off the board, right? So like that'd be one reason to move him before the draft. The flip side is maybe a quarterback gets hurt in the summer. Maybe you want to just backstop yourself a little bit, and maybe you think that you get to that situation. The issue, I think, with keeping both the quarterbacks, I don't think the personalities work. I don't think having Josh Rosen and Kyler Murray in the same quarterback room, in that environment where one was traded up for a year ago, the other one went number one overall this year. I just don't think that works. And so maybe they'll try to do it. Maybe they try to get away with that. I just, to me, that's got like warning signs all over.
Don't do it, yeah.
Like it's one or the other. Either they take Kyler and trade Josh, or don't take Kyler and keep Josh.
Well, let's presume they do trade Josh. If it does happen, where could Rosen end up? There's some interesting odds for if Rosen gets traded, where the destination would be. Look at that. New York Giants at 3-1, Washington at 4-1, the Patriots at 8-1. We know they need, well, an heir to the future, whenever that may be. Dolphins, Chargers, Bucks, Packers, and Bengals. Albert, any team stand out to you as one that could make that deal for Rosen?
I can't bet on these things, so but I think there's a pretty good value up there. I look at the Chargers at plus 1,000, and I just think, I mean, look, they're in this group of teams, and the Patriots, the Saints, the Packers are in this group too, where if you look at it logically, right, like they got an older quarterback on the roster. They're eventually going to have to find the next one. They're probably not going to be bad enough anytime soon to draft one high. So chances are they're going to have to be creative. They're either going to have to uncover a gem in the second or third round or late in the first round, or they're going to have to get creative. And to me, the idea of going and getting Josh Rosen would be a creative solution. The low end, if you're the Chargers, would be you have a backup on your roster at $6 million over the next 3 years. Very, very affordable, right? You can fit that even with Tyrod Taylor on your roster. And the upside is, all of a sudden, in this city where you've struggled to build a fan base, right?
UCLA kid.
You're going into a new stadium, like with a quarterback who's from there. So I just look at the Chargers as sort of an ideal landing spot. I don't think they were super high on him last year, but if opportunity presents itself where there's good value there, I certainly could see them looking into it.
Now, so much depends on what happens with Kyler. But there are all those other QBs we've talked about in a little bit. Dwayne Haskins, Daniel Jones, Drew Lock. We think they'll be drafted in the first round. Who is going to be the second QB off the board? Dwayne Haskins leading the pack there at -110, followed by Lock, Jones. Murray, in case he isn't the first QB, is obviously on the board. And then Will Grier, a long shot, probably won't happen. Nick, what are you hearing about the second QB off the board?
I believe it's going to be Dwayne Haskins. I think Haskins will be the second quarterback off the board, and I very much think Haskins is going to go in the top 10, whether a team stands pat and drafts him or whether a team in the teens trades up to draft Dwayne Haskins. Now, I will add that I also think Daniel Jones is worth a flyer here at +190. So I may look to make two bets here, one on Dwayne Haskins and one on Daniel Jones. I don't get Drew Lock kind of having the same odds as Daniel Jones, and there's been a lot of scuttlebutt over the past couple weeks that a lot of teams like Daniel Jones, I'm sure some of that is smoke, but when there's a lot of smoke, there's probably a little bit of fire. I think Haskins is the more likely scenario. If I had to take one, I would take Haskins, but I also would not be shocked if Daniel Jones were the second quarterback taken, and I wouldn't be shocked if we saw three quarterbacks go in the top 10, Kyler Murray, Dwayne Haskins, and Daniel Jones.
Yeah, I think Haskins has got the best. And I would have told you there was more mystery around this a week ago. I feel like things are starting to crystallize a little bit. I know the Jets would like to move out of 3. The Bucs would listen at 5. And so I think that there are some teams up there that might give you an affordable trade price to come up and get him. I'd keep an eye on the Redskins. I've connected them to the Giants in the past. I do think the Giants like him. The team that I think is creating some of this tension, that may lead to a trade at 3, you're starting to hear the Raiders connected to Dwayne Haskins a little bit, right? Now, that might be right, that might be BS, because you always have to have your radar up for that stuff this time of year. But
yes,
if even the perception that they could take Dwayne Haskins could pave the way for a trade, and if you're a team that likes Dwayne Haskins, you could be looking at it and saying to yourself, we ought to get in the phone with the Jets.
Well, perception is reality,
Right.
right? And so Haskins, his over-under for where he'll be drafted is 10.5.
Yep.
You think top 10?
I think top 10.
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
And I had him at 11 in my mock the other day. I think at this point probably top 10.
Okay, well, that was 2 days ago, and
Yeah.
things move so quickly. There's also a prop out there asking whether more than 3 quarterbacks will be drafted in round 1. We just talked about 4. Albert, your latest mock had 4. Last year had 5. There's only been less than 3. Thrice in the past decade. It is expensive. But is there any chance that one of those 4 falls out of the first round, or is it a lock that Drew Lock and company all make the first round?
I think and I think the one thing that sort of drives this too is the 5th-year option, having that on the contract, where I think that if Drew Lock, and I think Drew Lock's probably the most likely to slide, if he slides into the bottom of the first round, I think now all of a sudden there's the potential that somebody comes up and says, well, we may have to pay a price to get up into the bottom of the first round, but we get the 5th-year option there. We saw the issue it caused the Patriots with Jimmy Garoppolo. Yep. They had to get rid of him before the trade deadline because they didn't have that 5th-year option on him. And then we've seen the Ravens move up to 32 to get Lamar Jackson. The Vikings move up to 32 to get Teddy Bridgewater. So we've seen this in the past. I do think that 5th-year option kind of protects these quarterbacks from falling out of the first round.
Okay, now believe it or not, there are other positions in the NFL besides quarterback. I know it's where the money gets made, both for us and on the field. But let's look at the odds for first running back taken. And we're going to do a little speed round through running back, wide receiver, and a couple of the other positions. Josh Jacobs, huge favorite here, and that number has only gotten steeper. All the intel coming in on Jacobs, followed by Miles Sanders, Damian Harris, David Montgomery, and Justice Hill. Albert, I know you're a Josh Jacobs guy. You've been talking about it all week. And everybody, shameless plug, read Albert's stuff on SI.com. He's got everything you need to know. Is Jacobs' first RB pretty much a done deal?
I think so. I mean, I just look at him, and he's, to me, like this guy who NFL teams think much more highly of him than the public does. And I was under the impression he could slip out of the first round. I don't think it happens now. And I'm not sure there's another back that's even sniffing the first round right now. I think Jacobs goes somewhere in the 20s and with a chance to go in the teens.
His over-under is 25 or
right,
so.
Like I think
it's
Raiders,
right in the middle,
at 24, Eagles at 25. I think someone in that range probably takes him. I've heard, and this is crazy, could the Raiders, instead of taking him at 24, take him at 4?
No. Right.
I don't think it happens. But people sort of have the radar up out there because Gruden's in the room, because he can get antsy in these situations. Would he do something like that? I don't think it happens.
The scouts shouldn't come back if that happens. If they send home, they should stay home if they take Jacobs.
But the Raiders, but I think the Raiders are one of the teams that connect to him. The Eagles are another team I think likes him. The Ravens, even though they signed Mark Ingram, another team that could be in play. You see these teams that are in the 20s. I think there's a good shot Jacobs goes in the first round. And I'd say there's almost no chance that one of these other guys does.
Any disagreement?
Everyone I talked to, Josh Jacobs will be the first running back selected. I think the price tells you everything you need to know.
All right, on to wide receiver. And this one I think is a little bit more interesting. A lot of conflicting intel on Ole Miss's DK Metcalf. Obviously, he's a workout specimen. We all saw that photo and then blinked a couple times and looked at that photo again. But he is surrounded by a lot of questions. The number was a lot steeper literally a couple hours ago. Marquise Brown has come down from 2-1 to almost even money. There's been some buzz around A.J. Brown. Nick, DK Metcalf, the favorite. I assume you're not going there, but
No.
Is there any value?
Actually, I think A.J. Brown's going to be a better pro than DK Metcalf, the college teammates at Ole Miss. DK Metcalf can run really fast in a straight line. Remains to be seen what else he can do. For me, this is Marquise Hollywood Brown all the way. And I like DK Metcalf to go past 18.5, which is his individual player prop. I think he's going to go back end of the first round, if at all. And I think Hollywood slots into that range of 18 to 25. You rattled off, Albert, a couple teams for Jacobs that I think could potentially be interested in Hollywood as well. The Eagles, I think, chief among them. Later on in the first round, perhaps the other teams as well could be looking at Hollywood Brown. So I think he's going to be the first receiver off the board, not DK Metcalf. I do think that A.J. Brown might be worth a dart throw as well at plus 800, but for me, it's Hollywood.
Yeah, I don't think this is like the opposite of Jacobs. This is the one that the public has overvalued and teams don't look at as a potential star receiver. Most teams look at him as a one-trick pony. Not that he's a bad kid, and I think sometimes that stuff gets conflated. He's a good kid. He works his ass off. He's good in the weight room, obviously. He's played on special teams. He's a willing blocker, all of that stuff. He's just stiff and sort of can't do a lot of different things. And so I think there are a fair amount of people that think that his Ole Miss teammate, A.J. Brown, is a better player than he is. Hollywood Brown has the elite trait of being able to go downfield. He's been compared to Deshaun Jackson. And I actually think N'Keal Harry, I see Hakeem Butler there. I think he's a good player. I actually think N'Keal Harry has a chance to be one of those top four, more so than Hakeem Butler. And so I would say that the four there that you got there, Metcalf, Brown, and Harry, are all sort of in a cluster. And it's not impossible that Metcalf winds up being the fourth one to go of them.
There it is. And those are skill positions. Everyone loves the skill positions, but there's a lot more to this draft. Some defensive guys. We didn't talk about any tight ends. We will be back in just a moment with our best bets. But first, we took a moment earlier to debate the draft position of three marquee names. Albert, Nick, we're calling this segment the play clock. We're going to look at draft position over-unders of three big-name players, and here's how it's going to work. We're taking the NFL's 40-second play clock, splitting it right down the middle, so you'll each have 20 seconds to state your case. If you agree, fine. Just make me believe it. Give me something to believe in here. And let's start with Alabama D lineman Quinnen Williams. He's number 2 on our big board of prospect rankings. The over-under, though, is 3.5. Albert, you have 20 seconds on Quinnen. Ready, go.
I'm staying away. I think he should go higher than 4th because I think he's either the first or second best player in the draft. I think there's a real scenario the Jets either take Ed Oliver or trade with a team that was coming up to get a quarterback. You got Bosa at 2, you got Kyler at 1. I think the likelihood is to go 4, so I go over.
Okay, Nick, 20 seconds for you. Go.
I'm going to take the over on Quinnen Williams, and here's why. I think that we can agree, right, that the top 2 picks in either order will be Nick Bosa and Kyler Murray. Then I think what you see happen is the Jets either, like Albert said, take Ed Oliver, or a team trades up to 3. If a team's trading up to 3, it ain't for Quinnen Williams. It's going to be for a quarterback. So despite the fact that I agree that Quinnen Williams, either the first or second best player in the draft, the over is the only way to look.
All right, how about LSU?
That was over, too. Yeah. That was over, too.
How about LSU cornerback Greedy Williams? Love the name, probably has the best physical tools at the position, but you're hearing those dreaded character concerns everywhere. So where will he be drafted? 21 or earlier, 22 or later? Nick, you got 20 seconds. Go.
I'm going to take 22 or later, so I'm taking the over on Greedy Williams. The one team that gives me pause is the Pittsburgh Steelers at 20. I could see Kevin Colbert and the Steelers maybe taking Greedy Williams, but you mentioned the character concerns. There are a lot of other cornerbacks that a lot of people really like here, so I think the smarter play is to take the over for Greedy Williams.
There are 5 cornerbacks to watch in this year's draft.
All right, Albert, let's get those 5 cornerbacks when we get 20 seconds on the clock. Ready, go.
All right, so 5 cornerbacks in this draft. Greedy Williams, DeAndre Baker, both have character issues. Byron Murphy, Jawan Williams, those 2 guys have questions about where their ceiling is. Rock Ya-Sin from Temple is the cleanest kid. Teams are scared of Greedy Williams. The Steelers, I think, will be the first team to take a corner. I don't think it's going to be Greedy. I think if they roll the dice on a guy with a character issue, I think it's going to be Baker, not Greedy.
All right, let's move to the offensive side of the board. Tight end TJ Hockenson, he's sitting around the edge of the top 10 on most mock drafts. Albert, that's right about where he is on yours. I've heard Gronk comparisons, and the number is 9.5. Over under. What are you thinking, Albert? 20 seconds, go.
I've talked to people who were part of drafting Gronk in New England. Hell no. He is not Rob Gronkowski, but what he is, he's hitting the ball right in the middle of the fairway. He could be Heath Miller for you, which is a good player for a long time. Jacksonville at 7, Detroit at 8. Buffalo at 9, I think all would have an interest in him. So I'm going under 9.5. I would tell you I think Detroit will move out of there. Atlanta will come to get 3 technique. But I think Jacksonville or Buffalo could be in play.
All right, Nick, 20 seconds for you. TJ Hockenson, go.
I think it's a literal coin flip here, and Albert's as plugged in as it gets with his information. He gave you 3 teams in the top 10 that are a realistic landing spot for Hockenson. So is it better when it's a coin flip? You want to give yourself the absolute best odds. I'll take even money under Hockenson, 9.5.
There it is. Sometimes it's about the intel. Sometimes it's about the number.
The floor for Hockenson, by the way, I think is 12. 12 would be Green Bay. That'd be the floor. I don't think he's getting past there.
Well, high floor here. You guys are bringing the heat. This has been the play clock. Stay tuned for some best bets. Time for the best bets. We are going to tell you what's true, what's real. We've talked about a lot of things. Nick, let's start. Give me your best bets for the NFL draft.
Well, you know I like the DK Metcalf over, the Dwayne Haskins under. Gave those out already. So 2 others coming your way. Number 1, Miles Sanders from Penn State to be the second running back selected. Now, that might end up happening on Friday as opposed to Thursday. Josh Jacobs will go on Thursday, but Miles Sanders from Penn State, the knock against him, ball security, that's something that is eminently fixable. Miles Sanders will be the second running back selected. That will happen on Friday. And my second best bet, I don't love these wide receivers on night number 1. Friday's going to be great for fantasy football players. That's when the run on skill position players will be. I think we could see, 10 to 12 wide receivers go on Friday night. So I think on Thursday night, the first round, under 2.5 wide receivers. The only guy I feel very confident will go on Thursday night from the receiver group is Hollywood Brown. I think that's easy money, under 2.5 receivers on Thursday night.
I don't bet on football. You guys know that.
Yes, you're just here for intel. You're here for
which
intel
is very
only.
unfortunate because it's the most fun thing to bet on.
I'm here for entertainment purposes only. Do I even have to say that anymore?
Well,
Probably
we have a disclaimer at the beginning of the show. This is all for entertainment purposes only, unless you're in New Jersey or Mississippi or Vegas.
So I said it on SITV a month ago. I feel like I've got to double down on this. I looked straight into the camera. I got the one shot, and I told the camera, I told all the people out there that Nick Bosa is going to be a San Francisco 49er. Here we are a month later. I still believe it. San Francisco is going to get their man. Stitch the 9 and the 7 on the red jersey.
Love it.
I think Nick Bosa will be a San Francisco 49er with the second overall pick. The other piece of this, okay, and I'm going to agree with you on this, I take the over on DK Metcalf. I just, again, when you look at the way that the public perceives stuff, a lot of people in the public just look at the draft process as January through April. And DK's done pretty good when it comes to that, right? Not bad.
Some good numbers.
A little different when it was the fall, right?
Sure.
And I think that there's a real, look, I don't even want to call it skepticism because I don't think that they were ever as high on Metcalf in those rooms as the public was. And so I'm going to go the over on DK Metcalf. Again, I don't want to kill the kid. I think he can be a decent player. And there's a certain role he can fill on an NFL team. But in the first round, you're looking for complete receivers, and that is not what DK Metcalf is.
There you go. And one from me, I'm going to echo what these guys have been saying all day. Dwayne Haskins to be picked in the top 10. The intel says it, my gut says it, and, what's more important, the intel or the gut? When they both agree, you can't go wrong. That's Nick Costas. That is Albert Breer. I'm Ben Teitelbaum. Happy NFL Draft, everyone. This is The Line. We'll be back soon with some more betting, some NBA playoffs. Stick with us and catch everything. Thursday night, live draft show, SI.com and all social channels. Albert will have everything you need to know about the draft as it unfolds in real time. It's the only place to be. Thanks for watching.